Hey friends, it's Allison here, jumping in real quick before you get into all the juicy details of today's episode. Did you know there is just one more week left to our 200th episode giveaway where you have the chance to win a full ride scholarship to the Better Belly Blueprint? This is the way to heal your gut so that you can poop daily, ditch acid reflux, and balance your hormones even when nothing else has worked. Here's how you can enter. Leave a rating and review on the Better Belly podcast on Apple Podcast or Spotify between now and May 29th. Take a screenshot of that rating and review, then go to betterbellytherapies.com/giveaway and fill out our 200th episode giveaway form. You will automatically receive an email with a code for $200 off the Better Belly Blueprint, which you're going to get as soon as you send in that form. And then a full scholarship winner is going to be announced on May 30th and messaged by email. If you win, you're going to win a full scholarship to the Better Belly Blueprint. And if you don't win, you can still get $200 off, which is 20% off of the Better Belly Blueprint if you join by May 31st at midnight. So go ahead and leave a rating and review. Get that giveaway form filled out at betterbellytherapies.com/giveaway, and you can finally end your constipation, acid reflux, and PMS for good. Over the past 2 years, we've had over 50 women apply to work with us at Better Belly Therapies to do our signature gut healing program, the Foundations Program. As a part of the process of working with us, we have had every woman fill out our qualifying call application, a series of questions that gathers all the necessary data for me and my team to decide if we can help the woman who is applying to work with us. On today's podcast, I am sharing the results from nearly 50 women's responses to the qualifying call application. These responses are all from women that we approved to talk with and who qualified to work with us. Their responses include information on their top 5 biggest symptoms, how long they've been sick or been having their symptoms, what they've tried to help themselves get better, what hasn't worked, and what labs they have or have not done. I wanted to share this data because time and again, I find that when me and my team get on these calls with these women, they tell us that they feel utterly alone. Am I broken? They ask me. Am I unfixable? Have you even heard of any of this before? They all wonder if they're alone in this journey in their health. And they wonder if maybe they're stuck in their health because they're just the only one going through this. Well, they're not. And today, I also want you to know that you are not. As I share these pieces of information today, I want to invite you to listen in. Sit back, hear yourself in these stories. Do you sound like one of these women? Is their story like yours? If so, then I want you to know you are not alone. And even better, you are not stuck. Welcome to the Better Belly podcast, where we find freedom from food restrictions, we increase energy in our lives, and we begin to feel more healthy and vibrant than ever by finding the root causes of our health problems. My name is Allison Jordan. I'm a marathon runner, functional medicine health coach, certified craniosacral therapist, gut health nerd, lover of Jesus, and owner of Better Belly Therapies, a clinic based in Ann Arbor, Michigan that works with both virtual and local clients to help them achieve the best health of their life. I am here to walk with you on your journey to a better belly and a better life. We're going to go beyond popping a probiotic and just checking out our poop. In this show, we are going to go deep into gut transformation strategies that last for your entire life. If you are ready to feel your best, get ready to roll. You are in the right place. And just as a reminder, this information is not meant to diagnose, manage, or treat disease. Always consult with your own health practitioner before you make any changes to your health. All right, guys. Well, before we get into today's podcast, I just wanted to share with you why I'm even sharing all this data from our qualifying call applications with you. And this was actually inspired from earlier in the week. I've been really brainstorming and thinking about where are our listeners on the podcast and where are you guys at as you are wrestling in your health, and you're wrestling kind of with the physical side of things, you're wrestling with the emotional side of things, you're wrestling with the financial side of things. What's going on, and how can we best serve you at Better Belly Therapies? And as I was thinking about this, I was thinking, oh, I'd love to give you guys a quiz, or what are ways that I can be engaging with y'all and making this more of a two-way conversation, basically, because podcasting isn't just about like me talking into a mic and speaking into nameless void, really realizing that you are sitting on the other side and you're looking for answers, and who is you? And so I'm trying to get to know you better. And as I was thinking about this, I realized, well, actually, I already have some data on you, as in many of our listeners, because most of our listeners of the podcast have filled out a qualifying call application, or at least by that saying, most of the people who filled out our qualifying call application to work with us in the Foundations program, our signature gut healing program at Better Belly Therapies, most of the people who filled that out, most of the women, have heard us on the podcast. And so before, creating a quiz or anything, which I actually have done, and I want to invite you guys at the end of this podcast to fill out this short little 5-question quiz, because I really want to hear from you guys and hear back from you, and better understand how we can serve you here at the Better Belly podcast and just in Better Belly Therapies in general. I also thought, well, hey, I actually have some data in advance. Why don't I comb through that and just see what I find? We've had over 50 women apply to work with us with the Foundations program, and we've accepted, or we've gotten on 47 different calls with 47 different women who we confirmed and accepted their qualifying call. Like, we basically said, hey, you qualified, let's jump on a call and let's talk and let's get to know you, you get to know us. And all us even jumping on that call means that we've looked through their data and we can help them. And so I wanted to share, and thought, as I was looking through this information, I was really moved and touched of just realizing how interesting it was, at least to me. And so I'm hoping it's interesting to y'all. That's partly it, really. And the other thing, which I mentioned just at the beginning, is I really want, as you're listening to this information, for you to see yourself in it, because maybe you don't, and maybe you just love our podcast and you've got other stuff going on, and that's totally fine. But I bet if you're listening to this podcast, you're one of the women that we are aiming to serve. You're looking for answers in your health. You've already tried all the traditional methods and doctor appointments and diet changes. You've already tried all the things that should help, and you don't know what else to do in your health. But here's some data today on what the women we've been asking, what their responses are. And I have things like percentages and all that jazz. So let's jump in. Some data on the context of all the data that I'm about to share with you guys. The number of forms that this represents is 47 total responses. And again, these are all the responses of women that we have accepted to say, hey, we can help you. There were 32 questions total. 31% of you find us through the podcast. And we always ask, how did you even hear about Better Belly Therapies? How did you hear about the Foundations program? Are you filling out this form? And 31, which is by far the biggest majority. Everything else, all the other numbers, all the other, 1% had to do with a very specific friend who maybe referred them. But most of y'all have the chunk of you have found us from the podcast, which is yay. Hi, welcome to the podcast. And next, the next question that we ask our clients are, what will you name your top 5 symptoms for us? So in their mind, what are the top 5 things that bother them, annoy them? Do they wish could go away? What are the things that they want to see gone and out of their life? What have they been struggling with the longest? And this, I'm actually just going to read everything here. We had so many duplicates here that I didn't break up every single thing, and like 10% of you said blah, 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 and 10% of this woman's, it would have been a little bit too small of numbers, but we had a lot of duplicates, and I just wrote down everything that seemed I would write down one instance of every time I saw something. So just starting at the top, we had stomach pain, bowel problems, gassiness, fainting, poor quality of life, nausea, an overall feeling of malaise or being unwell, excessive painful gas, abdominal pain, headaches, itchy skin, fatigue, breathing problems that my doctor cannot address, acne, dandruff, hemorrhoids, infertility, stress, constipation, bloating, inflammation, I don't know what to eat, pain, acid reflux, irregular periods, struggling to focus, jaw pain, bad breath, foggy brain, not knowing what foods are right for me, food sensitivities in general, weight gain, low energy, body aches, neuropathy, constant cramping and bloating, poor sleep, anxiety, inability to lose weight, yeast infections, UTIs, joint inflammation, no libido, mood swings, skin problems, 1 to 2 bowel movements per week, sleepiness, water retention, OCD, food anxiety, heartburn, chest pain, chronic fatigue, and Hashimoto's. This is just a smattering of how we allow individual women to share their symptoms in their own words. We're not giving them a list or a bullet point of things to check off. This is their own words of their own problems. And first off, when I wrote that down, I knew it was going to be a pretty big list. I mean, it is a pretty big list. If you were listening just now and you're like, wow, it just keeps going. I didn't even include like every single iteration of things. I kind of combined some certain things like sleep problems. Some people would maybe make more specific comments about their sleep problems. But that is the bulk of things. And one of the things that really sticks out to me about this list is how many things are going on. It is not just gut health. Now, gut health is kind of binding all these women together saying, yes, all of them have some form of gut health. No one's coming to us without a gut health problem. But on top of that, there's hormone problems and skin problems and sinus problems and fertility problems and weight problems. And they're all connected. There's pain and there's thyroid problems and there's energy and there's focus. And that is one of the commonalities of our clients. It's not just one thing. It's not just their IBS. It's not just, although honestly, on its own, IBS sucks. Like, why wish for more things? I don't wish more symptoms on anyone. But the truth is that most of the women who are applying to work with us don't just have gut health problems. They have a whole host of other problems. Whether or not they see it as connected is one thing. And that's something we talk about on the podcast of how these are all really interconnected. And the cool thing is that we actually don't have to tackle every single one. Like you don't have to go to your dermatologist for your skin and go to an endocrinologist for your hormones or your thyroid. You can actually holistically address all these pieces at once. And they all, when you heal one, especially the gut in particular, when you really start at that root area, all of them improve. And you don't have to like really work as hard or try to like micromanage through multiple medications and things like that. However, that is the truth. And if you are going through this yourself, if you listen to that list and you're like, oh my gosh, that's me, I just want to encourage you, like, that is all of the women who have ever applied to work with us. Almost 50 women. I mean, we've had more than 50 apply. We had 47 represented in all the data that I was actually kind of crunching here. And so that's what's going on. That's also the women we're currently working with. That's the women who are joining the Foundations program in 2022. That is the community of people we're working with. And one of the coolest, most beautiful things that I feel like I get to see in the work that we do is seeing women realize that they're not alone, seeing women realize that they're not an anomaly, that they're not this far off broken thing that often like you just keep seeing doctors shrug over and over again. And you're like, does that make me the only one? And you're not. This is 47 other people across the US and in Canada who have gone through the same or similar things as you. The next question we ask them is, to rate the intensity of their top 5 symptoms on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the worst possible and 0 being no problem at all. And the numbers here is 46% of the women who filled out these forms had at least one symptom that they rated at a 10 out of 10 intensity. And I do not consider these women to be exaggerating. I want to be very clear with that. I know it can be so hard. We even have clients who, when we get on the call and we're talking about the intensity of their symptoms, they'll be like, well, I thought about putting a 10 out of 10, but I didn't want to seem dramatic. And so I put a 9 or something, or I put an 8 because I know other people have it worse or whatever. And so even realizing, the 10 of the 10 really is suggesting a huge impact in life and your ability to engage in the world, how hard you have to work to just get out of bed or kind of go to your career or take care of your kids, just the toll that it takes on you to move and go about through life. And so that's 46% had at least one symptom rated at a 10 out of 10 intensity. 60% had at least one symptom rated at a 9 out of 10 intensity. So jumped a little over almost 15% there. 100% of these 47 applications had all five symptoms rated at a 5 out of 10 or more intensity. And so they had 5 symptoms that on a daily basis were nothing less than a 5 out of 10 intensity. And that's often with these women being on, which we're about to talk about and I'm about to share, but often already having tried food sensitivity tests, restrictions in their diet, doctor visits, supplements, sleep change, exercise, meditation, yoga, all sorts of stuff. And so these are women who are trying really hard in their health, and the best they're getting is a 5 out of 10 intensity. Or 5 out of 10, I don't know, relief, if you want to put it in the direction of not a 10 out of 10, but the best they're getting is a 5 out of 10, even pouring all of their life and resources and focus into feeling better. And that is one of the things that they're frustrated with when they get on the calls with us. The next question we ask them is, how long has this been going on? And I gathered all of this data and I combined it into either less than a year, more than 5 years, more than 10 years, or more than 20 years. And this was the piece of data that even as I was writing it down and I was tallying things up, I wasn't sure which one was going to be most common, because we do get questions sometimes of where someone asks me like about how many people, what's your success rate? Like about how many people get better. And there's some statistics where I have a general feel of like about this many percentage of people get better or whatever it is that someone's asking me. This one I had literally no idea. I was like, which one is going to be the most common amount of time someone's had their symptoms going on? I literally had no idea. So I am really curious as you're listening here, what is your answer? Have you been struggling with your symptoms? Have you been looking for answers for less than a year, for more than a year, for more than 5 years, more than 10 years, or more than 20 years? Where do you fall? And second question to you is, what do you think is the one that got the most answers? The most grouping of answers. I personally was surprised. I don't think I would have picked this number if I'd been asked, and I've done all the calls and approved of all the calls and looked at all the forms. And so kind of fun, but this is just going from the bottom up, this is what happened. So for less than 1 year of symptoms going on, we had 14% of our women who were on the call, that had been going on, their symptoms have been going on for less than a year. For women we talked to on a call who'd been dealing with their symptoms for more than 1 year, it was 13%. So that was the lowest, but that was kind of tied. The first, just less than 1 year or more than 1 year, 14% or 13%. Then we had more than 5 years that they'd been dealing with their problems, which, I feel like clearly people who had been going on with less than 1 year felt like, more than 6 months was long enough. More than 5 years, not fun. This was by the way, not our biggest number. This was 21% of our clients had been going through their symptoms for more than 5 years. The next one was our biggest one. So more than 10 years, we had 35% of the women we talked to had been dealing with their symptoms for more than 10 years. This is something that just really breaks my heart. And if you're in this camp, I just want to be super clear. This is not like pity. This is not even, I don't know, like some type of like, oh gosh, like, no, this is not a bad thing. Like, oh, more than 10 years, you're so broken. This shouldn't be the case in this world. It is totally fixable. And unfortunately, because so many people are walking around with these problems ongoing and with doctors saying, we don't know, we think that if it's been going on for 10 years, it must be unfixable. And one of the most common things I run into on our calls, these live calls where we jump on and we say, hey, we can help you. This is what we're familiar with. This is what we work with. These are the symptoms and the clusters of symptoms we work with. This is what we bring that's unique to the table that you haven't done yet. And this is why our clients get results. And we can still see in the eyes of the women we're talking to, there's just this disbelief of like, how can that really be? Can you prove it to me? It's like, the proof is in the pudding. Like you have to step into it. You have to say, I'm choosing this. I'm walking into it. We can, give statistics and talk about the number of clients who get better when they stick with the program long enough for the full term. But that's the average. And I just want to ask you, are you in the average or are you in the most common category, that more than 10 years of symptoms that 35% of our clients are going through? You are not alone. And then lastly, more than 20 years, I was surprised by how we had more people who had problems for 20 years or more than we did for less than a year or more than a year. So this was 17% of the women who filled out this form had been struggling with their problems for more than 20 years. Some of them, 40 or 50 years. That is really, this is not, when we decide to talk to someone, we're never perturbed by how long they've been suffering from a problem, whether it's a short or long amount of time. Having any of the symptoms that I listed above in that long list for longer than 6 months of unresolved symptoms, that's too long enough. The impact that it has to our lives, the frustration, the loss of energy, the loss of time spent with our families, friends, hobbies, and careers, that is what's breaking these women joining on the call. And that's what I'm seeing. And that's what perhaps you're experiencing too. And as I actually wrote down one client's response to this question of how long have you been going through this problem? And her response was, too long. I mean, really, really, you can feel the emotion in some of these forms. So some things that our clients have tried and this is none of them, all of these things, there's multiple people said that they tried them. None of these were like only one person said. So I didn't really put any percentages to these. It was just a lot of them had tried a lot of these things. So a lot of the women we talked to, they tried probiotics, diet change, sleep hygiene change, doctor visits, chiropractic visits, nutritionists, acupuncturists, blood work, endoscopy and colonoscopies, exercise, physical therapy, counseling, yoga, meditation, spiritual practice or prayer, and supplements. That's a lot of things to try. And those are a lot of things that I had tried prior to finding the solution and actually finding how do I find the gaps in my health rather than just kind of reworking the wheel and trying the same, elimination diets over and over again, or just trying a different supplement and being like, I'm sure this supplement's the one, and then it's not. These were all the things that were part of my story. And it's something that we are seeing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, this is what women are trying because this is what we're finding in blog posts. This is what we're hearing from our doctors, or even if they're like a functional doctor, integrative doctor, like they're saying, well, why don't you try meditation or counseling? Or, we're just trying to be creative. None of that's bad, but you can see how much time and energy and money and effort we're putting into all of these different things. And yet we're still getting people showing up and saying, I've had 10 years of this problem. And so if that's you, again, just know you're not alone and you're not stuck. So the next thing that we ask them, so those are things they have tried. The next couple questions we ask them have to do with things they haven't tried, where we're trying to figure out, where are the holes? Because a lot of people come and they're like, well, what, even you don't know, like you're listening to this podcast and you're trying to think, what have I not tried? What should I be trying next? And you're really trying to figure and think that out. And that's what we're looking for too, because we offer very specific solutions for people, very specific solutions that are related to very specific gaps we're seeing in people's care that is correlating with not getting results in their health. So this is actually really surprising to me, this first number here, like excessively surprising to me, because we do have a lot of people who get on the call and they say they've done the low FODMAP diet, or they've done an elimination diet, or they've done gluten-free or dairy-free or vegan. We've had lots of people who have tried very specific restricted diets. But when we ask them, have you ever had a food sensitivity test? 76% of the women who filled out this form had never had a food sensitivity test. So that's actually the majority, despite the fact that so many have worked with a nutritionist or worked with doctors or done a elimination or a restricted diet, which is just fascinating to me, because while there are a chunk, 25, is not too bad, 1 out of 4, who have had a food sensitivity test. And we've talked on the podcast about how food sensitivity tests aren't everything. And there's very specific reasons that they're not healing people, even if you have had the test or a test done. But just realizing there's so many people who are just guessing, who are being, or even if it's not you guessing, it's your doctor or your nutritionist or somebody else is guessing, like, well, why don't you just take this out and see if it helps? And as a reminder, even if you get rid of gluten and gluten's not great for you, if you have H. pylori or another pathogen, you're not going to feel better, like maybe moderately and sometimes not at all. So you really want to make sure that, and that's what's happening is the women that we're working with, and the reason that we're seeing people doing so many quote unquote really good things with their life, with their life choices and their lifestyle. The reason they're not seeing results is because they're not getting the right the combination of things that is being looked at. Because the next question we ask them is, have you had a stool pathogen test? As in, has someone taken poop from you and then tested it for pathogens in it? And again, some people had, but the majority hadn't. 73% of the women we talked to had never had a stool pathogen test, which meant they'd been seeing doctors, they'd been diagnosed even with like IBS, and no one bothered to see, well, do they have a parasite in them? Do they have H. pylori in them? Do they have C. diff in them? And these are the things that we're finding in our clients. That's why it is just point blank, it is the first step in our foundations program to test and then address pathogens, because pathogens are like the fire that is making a house on fire. And until you put out a fire, it doesn't matter how many times you repaint your house. If your house is on fire, that paint is going to look really bad in a matter of hours or days or whatever. I mean, the metaphor breaks down after that. But just thinking, if you do all these good things for your body, and using that in relating it to a house, like painting your house or putting a new flooring, and there's a fire, which is the pathogen, it's just going to break down again. And you're going to end up in this cycle of feeling better, feeling worse, feeling better, feeling worse, or just maybe never quite feeling better and just feeling worse, and just feeling confused. So that was huge. I was not surprised by that number. That is our number one thing that we see makes the difference. And something to note for that 1/4 that kind of 27% who had a stool pathogen test, most of those, when we jump on the call with them, we ask them what was tested for, what was found, and what was done about what was found. And a lot of times maybe they'll say, well, it was one thing that was tested. The most common thing to be tested for is H. pylori. They'll say, and the most common thing when I ask them, well, what was found? The most common thing they'll say is it was negative. And then when I'll say, I still recommend we do this test for the clients we work with who have had a stool pathogen test, have had H. pylori checked by the hospital. We recheck it in our program, and we have always found it. always found H. pylori, and that has to do with the different ways the standard lab range versus the functional lab range of evaluating, does someone actually, what's a healthy standard for someone's body when you're doing a test. And so all those people, we ended up actually doing something about their H. pylori, and so their answer typically was, I was tested for H. pylori, nothing was found, so nothing was done. That's the most common answer if they have had a stool pathogen test, which means there's still like these holes. You can see that there's these gaps. And that's why our program works so well, is because we are filling in the gaps. We're finding things and we're doing things that have never been done for the women we're working with. And then lastly, the last test we ask about is a hormone test that tests your estrogen detoxification capability, test 24 hours worth of cortisol levels, which is adrenal gland health, and test your melatonin levels. And as a reminder, if you've never heard us share in the podcast before, 80% of your melatonin, which is your sleep hormone or key sleep hormone, 80% is made in your gut. So if you have low melatonin levels, you have a higher likelihood of not sleeping as well, whether it's straight up insomnia or just like poor quality sleep, so not resting well. And then you also have higher likelihood of having gut health problems because the two are interlinked. For that, this is something to do with a test we call the Dutch test, and it's unique. It's not just blood work that looks at some hormones. It's actually urine, and it looks at how your body's breaking down your hormones, and can you detox hormones? Are they piling up in your bloodstream and in your body? 92% of the clients we work with have never had a comprehensive hormone panel like this. And so you could just see, this is why most of the women we talk with have massive holes. And even if they're that small 8% or 15% who have had these tests, we usually follow up questions, what was found? Okay, you have had this test. What was found? What was done about it? And a lot of times it's really weird. It's like, well, this was found, but nothing was done about it. I'm like, that is so weird. I can't answer why these functional doctors or integrative doctors or whoever it is they're working with, why they didn't do anything about it, other than the fact of maybe they just didn't have a tool or they didn't have something covered by insurance. I don't know. But that's the next slew of questions we ask. And I want to ask you, where do you fit? Have you ever had a food sensitivity test? Did it actually make you feel better? Have you had a stool pathogen test? If so, what was found? What was even tested for? Did you have a parasite tested for at all? And what was done about it if something was found? Did you feel better afterwards? Was there like any noted improvement? If not, could suggest that you still have a pathogen. It just wasn't something tested for. And then, have you ever had a comprehensive hormone test that's really looking at, are you detoxing your hormones? Are they getting out of your body? Are you making enough progesterone? Are you converting your testosterone to estrogen? Is that part of what's going on in the imbalance of your body? What's your adrenal gland health like? What's your gut health and your melatonin levels like? So the next question we ask our clients is, how important is it to you to fix your problem? Because we don't want to tackle something that's not important to someone, or at least maybe isn't important to them in their current season. Like if they're focusing on other things in their life, now's not a good time to join the Foundations program. Now's not a good time to be joining a 12-month program to really not just get rid of a pathogen and be okay, bye, but actually rebuild your body. So it's like you have, the healthiest body you've either ever had, or you can go back to what you remember your health being like at its peak, whether that was 12 years old or 21, or it really varies for our clients. Some don't ever remember feeling healthy. Some can remember feeling healthy in their 20s, and that's like the latest, or the the most recent that they felt good. To really rebuild your health, it's going to take a chunk of time, because it took a chunk of time for you to get to where you're at. Even if you've only had your symptoms for 6 months, those didn't appear out of nowhere. There was a buildup, even if it's not quite readily visible. And we work with our clients who are interested in that. Where did this come from? We work with them and in their coaching calls and say, to really figure out, wow, what led you here? What can you avoid so that you don't get here again? And we do that a lot with also our training and our extra like group training calls that we do, all the extra videos we have to really teach people about their bodies. So it's not just, hey, do this thing we're telling you to do and you have no idea why, but that you really own your body at the end of the Foundations program and understand how to keep it on track when you're done working with us. So for the importance of fixing their problem, because that's important, 81% of these women said that on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the highest, that the importance of fixing their problem was a 10 out of 10. So 81% said it's a 10 out of 10 importance for me to fix my problem. The last 19% said it was either a 9 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 importance to fix their problem. That's everybody. So people are jumping on these calls. They're filling out these forms because it's important to them. And is that you? Is this important to you? I'm guessing actually you're probably already there because you're listening to a podcast on it. You're spending your time that you could spend listening to music. If we're thinking about just listening, you could listen to the news, you could listen to a fiction book, you could listen to lots of things, but you're choosing to listen to this because you're searching for solutions. It's important to you. Medications that our clients are on, lots of different medications, migraine medication, Synthroid, fibromyalgia and anxiety medication, Prozac, Zoloft, Omeprazole, Lexapro, Wellbutrin, acid reflux medications, Ambien or other sleep medication, probiotics, multivitamins, IUDs, the pill, nasal, and congestion medication. And that's just combining a bunch of different categories and responses that people gave us. And of course, that's a couple of those aren't quite medications, but people are actively using them to try to feel better. Is that you? Are you on a medication right now? We work with clients who are on medications. We don't force them to go off. We don't, we're not your doctor. However, a lot of our clients find that throughout their time working with us that they actually don't need their medications as much, and they'll go and talk to their doctor and work to actually reduce how much they're taking. Some completely get off of their medication, everything from thyroid to the pill. Some people merely reduce the dosage and feel that they're less like beholden, like they don't need their medication as much to, or as much of their medication to feel good. And that's really exciting to our clients as they work with us. 76% of our clients have been on the birth control pill at least once in their lifetime. So for, a chunk of time, they were on the birth control pill. And that's important because the pill does impact health. It impacts our mineral levels. It impacts our bile production. It impacts our liver detoxification, both while we're on the pill, but also after we're on the pill. And then of these clients, of the 76% who have been on the pill at all, 2 out of 3 of these women were on birth control for more than 10 years in total. And I say in total because a couple of them had been on it for 2 years, then had a small break, and then were on it for another, 13 years or something. And so, but 2 out of 3 of them were on birth control for more than 10 years total. That is a lot of impact to the body. And that is something that we keep in mind. And when we tell a client, hey, we can help you, and we know a lot of the common symptoms and post-birth control syndrome problems that we're dealing with and how we can help you unwind that, whether you're currently on the pill or you haven't been on it for decades, we can actually help go back, because those problems don't go away just because you've been off it for 10 years. They can still be hanging around in your body. And the last thing that I wanted to share here from the qualifying call is questions that we ask her at the very end of the form. Do you have any questions for us that you'd like to go over on your qualifying call? If you are approved, if your form's approved, what's your questions you have for us? And so we have people who've asked, what's your success rate? We had one client say, I might be the most challenging client you've ever had. Are you ready for me? We have people ask, what's the cost? What's covered in the program? Do we test for mold toxicity or Epstein-Barr virus? Do we have a payment plan option? Do we work with supplements? Will I be fixed if I follow this plan? And that person followed up by saying, I've tried so many things. I'm really wary of something not working. And, the last question we have and we see sometimes is, I've gotten some labs recently. Should I forward them to you? So This is a picture of the woman who has jumped onto these calls, has applied and said, I want help in my health. This is valuable to me. These are all the things going on. This is what I've tried. Can you help me? Please, I want to work with somebody to make me better. And so, I just want to ask you, like, does this sound like you? If so, we would love to work with you at Better Belly Therapies. And just for a quick context, I have had more and more people notice me say we on the podcast or in our like Instagram posts that when I say we, Better Belly Therapies is actually a team of therapists and staff. It is no longer just me, Allison Jordan, doing this on my own. I've actually developed a team of people, and I'm now the CEO, and I'm what I would like to think of as the lead science thinker. I'm really digging in and delving in. What are we missing? What's going on? But our team is here and designed to help our clients and to support our clients so that you don't just have one person looking into your health and one person supporting you on our Facebook group, which is members only, just for the women who are in our foundations program. You don't just have one person meeting with you for a coaching call, but you have a whole team of people working with you, thinking with you, supporting you, encouraging you. So the people on our team, if you're curious, we have my executive team and coach strategist, whose name is Desiree. She's essentially our head of staff, and she has been working with Better Belly Therapies for the longest. She is running on 2 years. She understands Better Belly Therapies inside and out. She understands our program. She understands the women we work with. She understands the problems we work with, how we get results. And I have loved working with Desiree. She is phenomenal, and she's part of actually the staff who jumps onto these qualifying calls and meets the women that we are going to work with. We have a clinic assistant in our Facebook group moderator, Madeline. So she helps with a lot of our scheduling and a lot of our back end staff and administration stuff going on and making sure everything works smoothly, that we don't have any problems. And if anybody has questions, if we need labs ordered, she handles all of that so that me and my head coaches and Desiree, that we can focus on serving y'all. We have an expert functional health coach whose name is Amber. She's an FDN just like myself, and she's doing all of our one-to-one coaching calls with our clients, where she's just answering people's questions and making sure that all of our clients are on track with their health goals as they're working with us in our 12-month program. And then we do have a craniosacral therapy and visceral manipulation therapist for our local clinic who also sees clients. So I see clients in our clinic, and then that is Desiree, who also does craniosacral therapy and visceral manipulation with our clients. And so we're working really deeply with our clients to do both lab testing and craniosacral therapy and visceral manipulation to get a whole body healing response. The Foundations program, if you're listening to it on this podcast, and if you don't live near Ann Arbor, Michigan, the Foundations program is completely virtual, so you can work with us. If you live anywhere in the U.S., so Arizona, California, Florida, what have you, we can work with you. And we've worked with women across the nation, and we've also worked with women in Canada. So if you live in the U.S. or Canada, you can do the Foundations program and heal your body from the root up, really completely. And again, not just get rid of a couple symptoms temporarily or create a laundry list of things you have to do to make yourself feel sort of better, but really help yourself get to homeostasis again so that you can feel good just by waking up, just by sleeping, just by doing the average normal things that make people and are meant to make us feel rested and good. And so that's our Foundations program. If you're listening and you do live near Ann Arbor, Michigan, we have our Whole Body 360 program, which I haven't talked about as much on the podcast because we have so many listeners who live outside of Ann Arbor, Michigan, but that is for our clients who are going to pair hands-on manual therapy, craniosacral therapy, and visceral manipulation with functional lab testing. And it's a really powerful combination. Not everyone needs it, but for those who do, they just get phenomenal results and improvements in their difficulties swallowing or in their headaches and migraines or breathing problems or bloating, constipation, pelvic pain, incontinence. We've just seen really amazing results from our clients when they've been able to partner these two therapies together, the hands-on and the functional lab testing. that's a part of the Foundations program. So that is, I just want to say that's that is who you will be working with if you join the Foundations program. And I just want to invite you, if you've been listening to this and you're like, yep, that's me, and I'm ready and I want to change and I want to move forward, please apply for a qualifying call with us. We have a link in the show notes where you can just fill out that form, fill out the application. And if we can help you, if you have that right combination of, we really do look at the forms and we ask ourselves as a team, what has this person tried? We don't want to work with somebody who maybe needs to have some more in-depth, bigger, questions asked about their health. Like, do they need to have an endoscopy or colonoscopy? Does this look bigger than something that our clinic can help? We want to make sure that everything is safe and that you're also going to have an effective work with us, and make sure that we know what you've tried. We ask ourselves what has not been tried. And so we don't want to redo anything you've already done. We don't want to, if you've already done a million things and we're like, hey, we would just be recreating the wheel. You've already done everything that we do that's unique to our clinic. Then we're not going to, that's one way that we make sure that no one's wasting their time. Again, that is we've never had anyone who's just done everything and we're like, wow, you've already basically done everything we offer. That has not happened. We also ask, what has not happened? The big question really is about labs, because we want to test and not guess. So what labs have you not had, or where have there been holes in the labs that you have had? Everything from blood work to stool pathogen tests. Even if you've had it, it does not mean you've found everything or everything has been found. And then lastly, we really ask, do we see a pattern in your symptoms that lines up with the patterns that we support and we help, and that our program is designed to help? And again, realizing our program is not this cut and paste, same thing for everybody program. It is a series of steps that we found has been helpful for everybody, but everybody has something different going on. Everybody has different pathogens. Everybody has a different age. Everybody has different food sensitivities, and we help you find those really specific things. But what we want to see is, are we seeing the right compilation of detoxification problems and skin problems and all these gut health problems and hormone that we're like, yes, this is screaming to us that our team is designed and our clinic and our program is designed to help you, so that you're not wasting your time, because we do want you to have a successful time with us. That's why we have such a high success rate. For the clients who have worked with us and stayed working with us, realizing that there have been clients who've dropped off for different reasons. But the clients who have continued working with us to the end of their program, our success rate is 92%, as in 92% of our clients say that all of my symptoms have been resolved to either completely gone or very satisfactory. And then there's about 8%, they have some lingering stuff going on. And we actually have been able to help them find who they should be talking to next to work out those last things that they're still working on. So they still get really good next steps and clarity, and they now know, this is what I've tried. It's a positive experience. It's not just like, oh, I tried this thing and I didn't get any results, and then I got kicked out of the clinic and no one ever talked to me again. Questions, some of the questions that were on here that people asked, do we have a payment plan option? We do. And so we want to make this as affordable as possible for people, realizing that insurance doesn't cover things like this, because insurance was not designed to help people be healthy. Insurance is designed to keep people from dying. And you can be alive, but not necessarily healthy. And so insurance is meant to keep, liver transplants and, bones from being broken and really important stuff, but not necessarily thriving or healthy. And so this program is designed to get you to your top functioning self, where you don't have to work so hard to feel better. And you also don't have to guess why you feel the way you do or how to get better. You really get those straightforward answers that are tailored to you. Some other questions that people have asked, are you ready for me for a difficult client? We're really not intimidated by clients that either have tried a lot or feel like they've tried a lot, because that's the common story. that's normal for us. What we are looking for is, do you have, again, the right patterns of symptoms and in health history, and do we see opportunities for us to fill in gaps of where you haven't had any support or treatment in your health, so that we can help guide you and find things that haven't been found yet. So those are some answers to the questions. We do also test for mold toxicity depending on the case. Not everyone needs that. Same with Epstein-Barr virus. We really are actually using a lot more of our, what we'd say, investigative skills to figure out, like, do we want to recommend spending the time and effort and money to test for these things? But yeah, we do. And we have found, in particular, mold toxicity with our clients that actually their symptoms correlate with, like, this sounds like mold toxicity: fainting, vertigo problems, lightheadedness, skin problems, like nausea. There's a lot of interesting things going on with mold problems that can look like either pathogens or other syndromes, but it's really mold. And so, yeah, that's been actually huge. And to answer the question, some of our clients ask about recent labs they've had. Yes, once you start working with us, we will review all of your relevant recent labs. Most often that's blood work. Occasionally that's some other stool pathogen testing, may be done with another functional doctor or integrative doctor. We love to see any data that you already have. Either sometimes we don't need to redo certain labs, or it just at least gives us a grounding point of, hey, this is something else, another piece of information that we can work with. So that is that. I would love, please, again, we would love to work with you. This is who we are designing to formulate this program around, is women with all of these gut health problems and skin problems and hormone problems. And I would love to work with you. So if you are ready to have the best health of your life in 2022 and work with us, you can apply for the qualifying call by clicking the link in the show notes. All right. Well, everybody, the last thing I want to talk about is, again, that I had mentioned a quiz, a short 5-question quiz. I would love to hear from you and just get an idea of what is going on, like what other data, how can we serve you at Better Belly Therapy? So this is a short 5-question quiz. It's open answered, so you can write as much or as little as you want. Again, the questions are going to be things like, what are you struggling with in your health? What do you want your health to look like 1 year from now? What else do you want to hear about on the podcast? And how do you know when you found a program that's right for you? I would love to hear this information. So please share your thoughts, go to link in the show notes and answer that quiz. And if you're ready to work with us, you can also click on the link to apply for the qualifying call for the Foundations program. We would love to work with you. If you loved this episode and you are new to the Better Belly podcast, I would invite you to hit the subscribe button so you do not miss another episode. We have even more information coming up down the line. In the next few podcast episodes, we're going to be covering topics like fibromyalgia. That's one of the ones I'm really looking forward to, as well as craniosacral therapy, visceral manipulation, and things that you're just not thinking about, things that are not in the blogs and doctors aren't talking about, so that you can have access to more resources and more information on how to heal your body. Other ways that you can support the Better Belly podcast is by leaving a rating and review. It would mean so much. We are having some more people leave ratings, and it helps other people find this podcast so they can experience change too. And lastly, I just want to invite you guys into our motto: miracles are immediate, but healing takes time. It is okay that you are taking time. You're on a healing journey and you can continue on that journey. But I encourage you, don't go at it alone. Find a friend, find a guide, and know that you are not stuck. You are on your way. And I cannot wait till you look back and can see how far you have come.